Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about how to handle duplicate labels. So index labels in pandas need not be unique. So we can verify whether the labels are repeated by using the method obj.index.is_unique. This method checks for the uniqueness, and if the labels are unique, it is going to return true. Otherwise, it returns false. Similarly, indexing behavior changes with duplicates. For example, if you take a series object, so this is the example of a series object, and if you try to retrieve a label with multiple entries, for example, here we have label A with multiple entries and label C with only one entry. So if you try to retrieve the label A, it is going to return another series object. Similarly, if the index is not repeated, in that case, if we try to access the index C, it is going to retrieve a scalar value. Similarly, the behavior for a data frame also varies depending upon whether the index is repeated or not. So for a data frame, if the index is repeated, if we try to access using the repeated index, we will be getting another data frame. Whereas if you try to access by using an index which is not repeated, in that case it is going to return a series object. So basically the return type for a series or a data frame is varying based on whether it is having a duplicate label or not. So if the duplicate is there, if the duplicate label is there for a series, it is going to return another series object. Whereas if there are no duplicates, in that case series returns a scalar value. Similarly, if there are duplicates for a data frame, that particular label, if you try to access, it is going to return a data frame. Otherwise, if the label is not repeated, in such a case, it returns a series object. So the behavior of the elements, the behavior of the result is varying based on whether the label is repeated or not. So sometimes this type of returning different data types may complicate the code. That is why we have to follow certain best practices, which include we have to keep always the indexes unique, and if there are any duplicates, you can drop the duplicates by using drop_duplicates method. You can make the indices unique by using dot reset_unique, and you can drop the duplicates by using drop_duplicates. So for all these concepts that we have just seen, let us see the examples. So using the is_unique method. So the property obj.index.is_unique, it checks for the uniqueness of the labels. That means if there is no repetition of the indices, it is going to return true. Otherwise, it returns false. So here let us see with an example. Obj equal to pd.series np.a range of 5, index equal to a, bb and c. And if you try to use the method obj.index.is_unique, it returns false because the indices a and b are repeated twice, which are not unique. That is why it returns false. Now let us see the indexing. Now let us see the indexing behavior in series objects whenever there are duplicate labels. So this is the series object that we have considered with the index AA, BB and C, and the corresponding elements are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we try to access obj of A, it returns a series object. Because A is appearing twice, it returns A0, A1, A0, A1, which is a series object. Whereas the index C is not repeated and it is existing only once. So if you try to access the elements element by using obj of c, in that case it returns a scalar value. That means if the index is repeated, it is returning a series, and if the index is not repeated, it returns a scalar value. Now let us look at the data frame, how it behaves whenever whenever the data frame consists of multiple labels. So dot LOC of label returns all rows matching the label as a data frame if multiple matches exist. That means if there are multiple labels, uh, if you try to index using that repeated label, it returns a data frame. Otherwise, it returns a series if the label is unique. Now let us see with an example. This is the data frame that we are creating. df equal to pd dot data frame np dot random dot randint 1 comma 10, size is 5 by 3. That means 5 rows and 3 columns with the indices AA, BB and C. So this is the resultant data frame. Then if we try to use df.loc of A, if you look at A is repeated twice. That is why it returns both the rows with the column labels as well as the index. So this is the result. So here df.loc of A is returning a data frame, whereas df.loc of C is returning a series object. That means the return type is varying based on whether that particular label is repeated or whether that particular label is unique. So the best practice is to keep the indices unique always. So for that purpose, you can either use the method dot reset underscore index or drop underscore duplicates wherever they are applicable. Now let us see the behavior of these two methods. So if you use df dot reset underscore index, it is going to consider the entire data frame along with the index as another data frame, and it is going to give the default index ranging from 0 to 4. That means it is resetting the index by assigning a new index, a new default index which is from 0 to the size minus 1. So this is the result. So here if you look at it, these are the data frame elements and this is the index of the previous data frame and this is the index that is being reset recently. Now let us look at when to use this df dot drop underscore duplicates method. So let us create another data frame with 3 columns: name, score and city. Here we are using we are passing a dictionary for pd dot data frame. This is the dictionary with the keys name, score and city, and we have the corresponding elements for names, score as well as city. Now we are passing this dictionary as a parameter for creating the data frame using pd dot data frame. So if you look at if you try to print the data frame, this is the data frame. So here if you look at the elements, the entries corresponding to Elise and Bob are repeated. So you can use df dot drop underscore duplicates method so that in the resultant there won't be any duplicates. So that is how you can eliminate the duplicate labels, and this method drop underscore duplicates you can use only when all the elements are same. So here if you look at it, not just the name but also the other column values are also matching in 2 rows. So for example, Elise 85 Delhi, and here also we have Elise 85 and Delhi. Similarly, Bob 90 and Mumbai, and similarly we have Bob 90 underscore Mumbai. So in such a case only we call them as duplicates. Even if one mismatch occurs in any of the columns, we don't call it as a duplicate. So this drop underscore duplicates is useful only when all the values in all the columns are matching. Only then you can use drop underscore duplicates. So the summary is the in the series or data frame, having duplicate indices is valid, and uh, the return types for series and data frame varies depending upon whether they have the duplicate labels or not. So for example, for a series object, if you try to access using a replicated label, in such a case you'll get another series object as a returned data type. Whereas if you try to access an element having only one index label without duplication, in such a case a scalar value is returned. Similarly, for a data frame, if the label is repeated, in such a case you will be getting another data frame as return type. Whereas if the index is not repeated, in such a case data frame uh, returns a series object. So having this heterogeneous return types, depending upon whether the label is duplicated or not, it complicates the behavior of the code. That means you can't predict the return type whenever you are trying to retrieve the elements from a series or data frame object using the index. So always the best practice is to avoid the duplicates. So for that purpose, you can either use reset underscore index method, or you can also use drop underscore duplicates. So reset underscore index is going to completely give a new index to the existing data frame along with the previously uh, assigned index. And similarly, drop underscore duplicates is going to filter out the duplicate rows having the same values across all the columns of the data frame. And you can verify whether your particular data set is having duplicate labels or not by using is underscore unique method. So with this, we came to the end of the topic, how to handle the duplicate labels.